by the end of this video, you are going to know all of the basic road markings here in the UK. Hey guys, welcome back. If you don't know me, I am Josh. I am a driving instructor, meaning I spend a lot of time in the car. What's funny is I didn't realise till I became a driving instructor that I actually didn't have a clue what half the road markings actually meant. And then I thought, well, maybe there's other people out there that are in a similar boat to me and don't know what they mean. So I'm going to share with you everything I've learned in the past 5 years. And the first rule of road markings is more paint, more danger. The more paint and more signs you see at any junction or anywhere on a road, chances are that means the more chances an accident or a repeated number of accidents have happened in that spot. When this happens, the council is far more likely to spend some money and get those signposts going and those markings on the road. So remember that, more paint, more danger. So in today's video, we're going to be covering the 3 basic lines. We have lines going across the road, we have lines going down the sides of the road, and we have lines coming down the middle of the road. First, let's start with lines across the road. The first and most important line, and you can't avoid this line anywhere, is of course the give way line. Now you can spot this in a number of ways. The most obvious way is the double broken white line. If you see this line, this means you must give way to traffic coming from both directions. Funny story, I've got a very busy junction by my house. It's a bit of a country road, and sometimes you get tempted to turn left and just focus more on the right and not the left. And then you look left and you realise there's a car on the wrong side of the road overtaking someone else. And whose fault would that be? That would be my fault because I didn't check both ways and I should have given way to both directions. That's why you always look both ways before pulling out at a give way. Now, there are often other signs to make give ways far more obvious. The most important of these is the upside down triangle. Now, this upside down triangle can be completely blank. It always means the same thing, and that is give way. It is the only upside down triangle in the country, and it always means the same thing. Now, sometimes on top of this, or instead of, you get a triangle painted on the road. Funny story, I was teaching a girl called Liv. We were turning right into a side road. I said, Liv, let's take the next road on the right. Next thing you know, Liv is swinging the car into the wrong side of the road, going down the road. I'm grabbing the wheel. I'm losing a year of my life in panic, in stress and grey hair. And then I'm pulling over and I'm asking, what happened, Liv? And she said, well, I was just following the arrow on the road. No, not an arrow. When turning right, this can look like an arrow, but it's not. If you turn it upside down, it's a give way sign for the oncoming traffic. Note to self, don't turn on the wrong side of the road. Really good way to spot this, by the way, is looking for the bollards. The bollards will always have an arrow, a white arrow on a blue background. This will show you which side of the road you always need to get on. Really useful if you get to those 8-way crossroads, 8 different roads. There's no one else on the road. You're thinking, oh my God, I'm turning right. Which road do I turn into? Look for the arrows. Let me know in the comments if that helps. The next one we have is the single broken white line. Now, this is normally quite a thick line. It's not skinny like I'm trying to get. And it simply means give way to your right. As you might be thinking, you normally would get these at things like roundabouts, sometimes mini roundabouts, and slip roads. The next one is the solid white line. These are pretty obvious. They just mean stop. If you see a solid white line, you must physically bring that car to a full stop. It is a legal requirement, not as common in the UK as in America. Instead, we have lots of roundabouts, but they are still about, and they are normally in areas that are considered highly dangerous. Now, as I say, you will normally spot a solid white line, but in certain situations, you'll also see a big octagonal sign with the word stop on it. Again, in the UK, it's the only octagonal shaped sign, so it always means the same thing. Even if the words are rubbed off, it means stop. Now, again, the bigger the sign, the more dangerous the junction probably is. Now, if you're anything like me, you get tempted, you get to the junction, and sometimes it's quite tempting to keep poking out. I've got one just by my house, so I know the feeling, because you know it's always clear until the day it's not clear, and a car comes flying up, and you absolutely, lose a couple of years off your life. If you want to avoid this, the best way I found of avoiding it, instead of rolling to the junction and start looking when there's a stop sign, focus on stopping at the white line. Instead of looking, don't look at all until you've stopped perfectly at the white line. Once you've stopped, then start focusing on looking, because you're going to have far more time, then you're going to be far less tempted to just pull out on a stop line illegally. And if you're wondering how close can you get to a stop line, the easiest way to measure this is line up your wing mirror so the bottom rim of your wing mirror, the black part, sits directly on top of the white line. It's touching the white line. And it's the same with a forward bay park. If you check this next time you get out, challenge you, have a look, touch the white line, the end of the white line of your junction on the bottom of your wing mirror. Stop the car there, check it. You will see you are perfectly at the white line, but you haven't actually gone over the white line. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this. Does it work? Now, hopefully by this point, you're thinking, bloody hell, Josh, this is useful stuff. I'm enjoying this. But if you're not, and instead you're just looking at this t-shirt and thinking, bloody hell, Josh, I want to look as handsome as that. Yeah, boy. Head over to QWERTY. Don't forget the discount code JOSHTDI. The other place we get solid white lines are at, of course, the dreaded traffic lights. Now, you'll notice next time you go to the traffic lights and they turn red, there is a solid white line. This means you need to stop there and don't go past the white line. Sometimes you'll have a second white line before that, a previous white line, and inside between the two lines you'll see a cycle box. If there is a cycle box, you shouldn't be entering the cycle box unless, of course, you're having to slam the brakes on quite a bit harder than normal because the lights have gone amber and you're trying to stop for the light. If that's the case, mistakes happen. But as a general rule, we should be leaving the cycle box clear. This gives a chance for the poor old cyclist that we all know and love to not get run over and pull off when the lights go green. Reducing risk, because if there's one thing we don't like, it's when cyclists are splattered on the floor. Now we're going to have a look at the second type of line, which is the central white lines. And the first one is, of course, the broken central white line. Anytime you see a broken white line, you can go over it if absolutely necessary. For instance, overtaking a parked car, overtaking a cyclist, overtaking anything, any hazard at all, you can go round and cross that white line if needed. Of course, you've got to give way to oncoming traffic first. Sometimes in the central area, you're going to see a chevron marked area surrounded by broken white lines. Again, you can quite happily use the chevroned area provided no one else is and you need to. This is particularly useful when you're turning right and there's a protected lane for you to go into, and before that there's a chevroned area. Now, if it's smoother for you to turn into that central lane by going over the chevron area, there is no problem with that at all. In fact, it's probably recommended because it's going to reduce the traffic behind you from having to slow down too much. Of course, if the chevrons are surrounded by a solid white line, that means do not use. And if you do get caught going over the solid white line chevrons, you can get a pretty big fine, points, and a whole lot of earache. And that leads us on to the solid white lines in the centre of the road. Sometimes, particularly on places like country roads where there's going to be bends, or in a busy town, you may come across solid white lines. If you do, this means don't overtake. Now, when we say don't overtake, of course, if a vehicle breaks down or there's a road sweeper, anything going less than 10 miles per hour, if it's safe to, you can then overtake if absolutely required. After all, we can't be following a road sweeper at 10 miles per hour for 100 miles down the road. That wouldn't make any sense. You just need to use a hell of a lot more caution. Now, sometimes you're going to have two central white lines, one being solid on one side, the other side being broken. This means the side with a broken white line can overtake, provided it's safe to do so. But if your side's solid, you cannot overtake and you need to wait till your line becomes broken. This gives both sides opportunity to overtake, particularly on country roads, so people aren't trying to overtake both sides at the same time, because that would be bad. When you come across these sorts of situations, you're often going to see curved arrows. These are to just show you need to be getting back in pretty quick because your overtaking situation has come to an end, or it's coming to an end very soon. Now, when the central white line is broken and it's particularly long with short gaps, this is to indicate to you there's going to be a hazard coming up. Hazards are in the form of junctions, roundabouts, turnings, anything at all. Long lines, short gaps means hazard coming. Now, if you've got short lines with a normal gap between the lines, this is just a normal driving position. It's just showing you this is a normal road, just crack on. Sometimes people get a little bit hung up on cycle lanes, like can I use a cycle lane, can I not? If it's a broken white line, yes, you can use a cycle lane. If it's a solid white line, no, you can't use a cycle lane. Now, again, it's always best to be considerate. It is a cycle lane. People may want to cycle, and if you're blocking it, it makes it a bit unsafe. However, sometimes you may need to. And the third type of line is lines on the sides of the road. Now, there's a few different types of these and they can be a little bit confusing. Let's go. First, you have the single yellow line. These mean you can only park here during certain hours. This particular one here means you can only park here between 9:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's because it's right outside of school, and during those times, it's going to get particularly busy outside those times. And if you block the whole road up, no one's going to get up there. Lorries have got no chance of getting up there. Then traffic warden's going to come. He's going to have an absolute field day. It's gonna be like a fox in a hen house, tickets flying everywhere, boom, 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 boom. And he really does. You can normally see when it is because there's going to be clear plates to show you when the times are. So make sure you double check those before just wandering away. Next, you've got the double yellow lines. These just mean no parking. Got a funny story for you here. Again, no parking unless there's some sort of time plate saying parking at this certain time, which is going to be very rare if it's double yellows. So funny story. We're giving our friends a lift home. We drop them off. It's about 10 p.m. Friends live on a busy terrace road. Double yellows all the way down the road. But it's 10 p.m. We park up on the side of the road. They want us to pop in 15, 20 minutes. So in we go. They're showing us they've decorated a room. Great. Wander around. Wonderful. Get back out. What's on the car? Yes, you guessed it. A friggin' parking ticket. 10 p.m. at night, I've got a parking ticket on a Saturday. So if anyone ever tells you the parking warden stops working at 5 p.m, this one doesn't. Sometimes you might have a designated parking box. Have a look at the times and make sure you're inside the lines. If you see the white zigzags, this means no parking at any time. Sometimes they're yellow zigzags. Either way, it means no parking and no overtaking. They're normally in dangerous areas outside schools, zebra crossings, traffic lights, anywhere like that. Don't park on the side of the road. If you have these yellow lines sticking from the pavement into the side of the road, this means no loading during this period. If you see two yellow lines sticking into the road, this means no loading at any time. And next we're going to have a quick look at markings in the centre of our lanes, controlling traffic. And these often look like arrows. Big arrows in the centre of the road. There to show us which way we can go in that lane. If you see an arrow in your lane, you must go that way. Because if you go a different way, when everyone else is going in the other lane that they're supposed to be going in, two roads don't go into one very well, and then boom. Really good one is box junctions. Now this is one that I actually didn't know until I became a driving instructor. And I brought a pupil from a test on my way back in a new place, and we got to a box junction with traffic lights, and I was supposed to turn right. And I thought, well, I can't turn right because I can't wait in the box junction, so what do? Donkey, the brain. So the rule with box junctions is you cannot wait inside a box junction. So no stopping in a box junction unless you are turning right and your exit is clear. Because obviously when we're turning right, we have to wait for the oncoming traffic. And if we waited behind the green light for the oncoming traffic, the lights would change and no one would ever be able to turn right. So if you're turning right, provided your exit's clear, you can wait inside the middle for the oncoming traffic to stop or for a space for you to continue on. If you're looking for some short-term insurance, a very quick quote, or you're teaching someone to drive, have a look at Go Shorty. Very, very easy, fast. You'll get a quote in like 30 seconds. Don't forget to have a look at QWERTY for one of these bad boys, Josh TDI. And let's find out what's the best driving position to keep your back in one piece and keep you safe.